Vidhi Beri, your health transformation coach on day 4 of re-engineering your health. Today I'm excited to ask you a few questions that have plagued a lot of my clients, almost 80% of them, some people at home, and some stories I'm going to tell you about famous personalities that you already know that have been plagued with the same issues. So what are these issues that we are going to talk about today? Before I get to that, please make sure that you like and follow this page fomonomore and support this endeavor to spread positivity in the world at this hour. Now coming back to those questions, they are very, very common questions. I'm sure every second one of you watching them has had one of these symptoms or continues to have them even now. What are they? Number one, acidity. 5-6 p.m. in the evening, you experience that slight heartburn or a reflux action or something's coming up and really making you uncomfortable above your gut area, somewhere in between your chest. Number two, bloating. So somewhere post lunch, whether you take a nap, you don't take a nap, you start feeling like you're becoming larger, and by dinner time there are 2 more inches added to your waistline. Some of you tell me you have headaches. Some of you have severe headaches or migraine. Then a lot of us don't wake up in the morning very, very fresh with a jump start and actually wonder when someone says that when I wake up in the morning after a good night's sleep, I'm very, very refreshed. How does that happen? And once you're ready to sleep at night, you actually are restless. You're not really getting good sleep. Afternoons, you're sluggish after lunch, you feel fatigued and you need to take a siesta or a nap. So right now I can see a lot of eyes going up there that yeah, I think we've experienced some of this, and from time to time it's better or it's worse. There are many, many more symptoms with this, along with some amount of respiratory congestion that comes in once in a while. But let's stick to the ones we've talked about. So if you have experienced this, I'm going to share 2 stories of people who discovered these symptoms and they tried regular allopathic medicine, they tried different kinds of food mixes, regular food mixes, they tried homeopathic medicine, they tried upping their exercise and just drinking water and flushing things out, and then they said, nothing seems to be working, so I'll just live with it and I'll keep popping a few different pills to digest better. Maybe I won't have these symptoms, maybe I won't bloat today, maybe I'll just do a little ajwain pani today and I'll feel better, and so on and so forth, small fixes, big fixes. So what ended up happening with these people and what was it that was causing this problem? Let's explore that, because I think many, many antennas are going up, and even if you haven't experienced any of these, I'm absolutely sure you have someone in your family who has experienced one of these symptoms. So my first story and example tonight is the #1 tennis player, champion in the world as of today, Novak Djokovic. I think we've all heard of him, and he has been holding the mantle since 2011, going back and forth, but won many, many significant titles in the tennis world from 2011 to now it's 2020. And he's been on the scene for a while, but 2011 is where everything changed. And how did that change? Is because he was experiencing half the symptoms I spoke to you about, and in addition to that, asthma-like symptoms, respiratory issues as well, while playing. Now you can understand a sports player at that level while playing, if suddenly shuts down because of his breathing, suddenly shuts down because his gut absolutely wrenches and won't let him move, and suddenly shuts down because his mental level of acumen to play and respond is completely foggy at that time. What do you think he went back and thought to himself, like, what's going on? And he's a Serbian guy. He says, for us, pizza is healthy. We think the flour, the tomato is vegetable, you have some protein in the flour, you have some calcium and protein in the cheese, and you throw in a bunch of veggies and a piece of meat in there, and you're done with all your food groups in that large pizza. So that's where he was coming from in terms of his sense of nutrition. And guess what? He had someone from his culture who practiced holistic medicine who just suggested to him, why don't you just try going off your regular foods and do something different? Test on your body what works with you. I'm going to, by the way, get to that test tomorrow. But for today, he did a few tests that he asked him to do, some medical tests, some personal tests on the body, and figure out what it is that's not working for you. Any guesses on what that was? I gave you a little bit of hint based on his staple diet. So, from being one in 200 top 200 players of the world, how did this man started to become someone who is number one consecutively for many years, now almost going to be a decade, started to be someone who everyone took seriously, from suddenly being someone before 2011 who was falling on the court? Any guesses again? So it was that yummy, sticky substance in what we call wheat. The yummy, sticky substance in what we call wheat that changed his performance from being in the top 200 to being the number one and the number two sustained for the last decade. How did this happen? What did he do? How did he change it? Why did he change it? I think we know. And we might also say that he has to play high intensity sports. He needs to be at the top of his game. So definitely he needs a different diet. So what is the diet that Novak Djokovic follows? I'm going to give this to you as an example of someone who wants to be a high achiever. Many of us do want to be. So if we were to follow his example, we're simply sticking to a diet of fruits, nuts, eggs. He's a European. He does have pasta almost every day for lunch with salad. What is that pasta made out of? Another topic I want to discuss today, which is millets. Alternate grains to what we are used to eating. Millet pasta or gluten-free pasta with a whole bowl of salad, and then some nuts and the snacks at the evening, and then for dinner he has a bowl of soup and some form of chicken or fish. So that's a very simple diet. He sticks to that 7 days a week with just variations in recipes. That's what a high performance sports star diet looks like as of today. And whether someone has these issues or not, anyone in that sports arena today is actually following his diet. And guess what the irony of it all was? That he actually opened a restaurant by his name, and yes, they do serve pizzas, but those pizzas are very differently made. So that was one story of a very high achieving person for you who's out there in the world, for you to see how his performance has improved with one singular change. And that change was just becoming aware that there was something in his diet that was causing him to be mentally foggy, not fast enough, completely clogging down with respiratory issues, and not being able to be agile and fast on the court. Now coming to a more homegrown story. So this homegrown story is of my dear beloved husband, who I have known for 20 years, belongs to North India, and guess what? What's the diet he grew up on? So there's aloo parathas for breakfast, there is aloo tikki and regular rotis with lots of ghee for lunch, and aloo rasa, and maybe a dal or a curry, and a little bit of fried tadka gobi. And then again for dinner there is some sort of aloo concoction or favorite butter chicken or biryani, or again very nice kadak paratha with ghee or oil with gobi or mooli in it. That's staple everyday diet while living in India. And guess what I started noticing? So he is a high performing business person, and just before lockdown the travel reduced. We said let's do an experiment, and this is bringing in the lockdown. So pre-lockdown we tried to do an experiment, and the reason we decided to do this experiment is, when you have a health coach at home, you tend to do the exact opposite. So like I described the diet to you, you can imagine it's the exact opposite of me. So I started to notice a few symptoms which I pointed out. I said, did you notice you're not traveling that much yet, but you still need to sleep? And it's been a week, it's been 2 weeks, it's been 3 weeks. And now there is no excuse of saying that I'm traveling 20 days a month. So I'm excessively tired, I need to catch up on my sleep. There is no excessive work calls happening, none of that. So we've gone past 1 week of recuperation, 2 weeks of recuperation. We're still having 2-hour long naps in the afternoon. We're still sleeping 10 to 11 hours at night. And I started to wonder, because I could see this very clearly now. Earlier it was all foggy because of travel, work, pressure, maybe you just give the person a break. And I said, you're sleeping 12 hours a day. And if your mind is productive, even if you don't have work to do, you come up with something, you create something, you create corporate social responsibility endeavors like fomonomore, you get onto different kinds of hobbies, pastime, read books that you didn't have the time to do. But how come there's just no time to do anything but watch Netflix and sleep? Something's happening there. Number two, for the last 15 years, I had seen him have cold water, a sip of cold water, almost icy cold water, with every second bite of food that he was eating. Every second bite of food that he was eating. Now you let those things go after you say 3, 4, 5 times, because after a point you become a nag. So you let go. And the reason that was happening is not only habit, there was actually a burning sensation after every second bite. And so the ice water was going, and sometimes it was a liter of ice water with every single meal, and then sometimes at night after having the yummy gobi parathas. So that was number 2. Then the number 3 was that after every single meal, the tummy would be about 3 to 4 inches bigger. And of course, initially it was just, maybe I just ate excessively, maybe I just ate too much. So, that's what's happening here. And after eating, there had to be a nap at all times, but the nap was a very restless one. The breathing wouldn't happen correctly. There was a whole lot of mouth breathing, and in the morning after 10 hours, he was still waking up tired, never fresh. So this time I took a tiny bit of an opportunity and I said, you know what, I've been making this new kind of roti and it tastes very, very similar to what we are eating. Maybe we can try it out, and if you like your parathas and that, we can eat that. And maybe you want to have a little bit of homemade biryani and different kinds of potatoes, and instead, if you want to fulfill your senses, instead of having the regular parathas, maybe have a scoop of ice cream. So I incentivized him with different kinds of junk food. In your mind, you're thinking, oh my god, she's telling him to eat all of this other junk instead of eating wheat. Wheat is stable, we all grew up on it. It's supposed to be high protein, high iron, that great cereal. And all I said is just don't eat that and eat everything else. So we switched to jowar rotis, we switched to regular basmati rice, we're still having aloo tikkis, fried aloo, all of that, and a scoop of ice cream every day. But there's a little bit of fruit in the diet, there's a little bit of nuts in the diet, not a whole lot more different. The butter chicken is still there, the mache jhol is still there. Guess what has changed? And now we are 3 months into this diet change, and I think it's here to stay, but I'll tell you some funny stories and interjections on that. Guess what happened? You think it was similar to Novak's exploration of himself and where he reached with this? You think correctly. And even though he doesn't have the same physical pressures, guess what? He can get up at 6:37 in the morning. There are no afternoon naps, and there is no drinking water during meals. And this was not because I said don't do this. This is purely because there was no need remaining. So there's still ice cream in the diet, there's still fried potatoes in the diet, there's still parathas made out of jowar in the diet, which are nicely ghee fried, oil fried. But we don't have 12 to 13 hours of sleep a day, we don't have excessive acidity, we don't have sluggishness. We've gone back to hobbies and creating work at home. So do you see, even a person who is in their mid-30s, not in high-performance sports, regular work, even during a lockdown, can see such a significant impact. And the biggest thing was he was able to breathe at night and sleep well. It was not that restless sleep anymore. So now what happens? Do you think he went off the samosas and the parathas entirely? Do you think he didn't want to touch anything that was from outside? No, he did. But you know what would happen? Every time he ate that extra in the last 2 months, he would go for a nap. And when he would get up, he would have this burning sensation again. He would reach out for that full bottle of ice water. And then he would say, oh my god, I just had normal wheat roti. So this is what I'm talking about, where we have a tennis champion and we have my husband here, and both with different lifestyles, different needs, experiencing very, very, very similar things. So what are the alternatives I can give you, and why must I give you these alternatives? Because the bottom line of the story is that we all grew up eating this grain, and this grain called wheat, whether it's whole wheat or refined wheat, like I mentioned in our first session, not only does it have a high glycemic index, it spikes your sugar levels, it makes you addicted, and then causes a slump, just like refined sugar does. Except that the glycemic index of wheat is 10 points higher than sugar and almost 10 points higher than rice. And rice was so misunderstood. So one thing I want to offer any of you skeptics who absolutely are shaking their head right now that there's no way I'm letting go, if you want to hold on to it, just do one quick fix before I give you the alternatives. Make sure you find a staircase. Any staircase, one single flight, 10 stairs. That's all you need. Go up the 10 stairs, come down. Go up the 10 stairs, come down. Do this 5 to 10 times. It will take you a minimum of 7 to 8 minutes, maybe a maximum of 10 to 15 minutes if you start panting. But I need you to do it, and if you want to do it fast, even better. The point is, I have tested this on all my diabetes clients. When you have blood sugar levels, you need to check. And we did these experiments with all of them. We made them go up and down, up and down, up and down after having parathas. And guess what? The blood sugar changed significantly. So for anyone who doesn't want to change at all and is holding on, please do this as a favor to yourself, because when we were kids, we were digesting everything and nothing was spiking, because even while eating, we were going up and down, up and down, up and down, moving like this. You've seen kids move while eating. They don't even sit still. After 2 bites, they jump up and down. We're like, sit still, finish your food properly. So that's what I'm recommending you do. You pretty much get off your table, you finish that meal, go up and down. If you don't have 10 flights, do it over 2 flights for 15 minutes, sustainably up and down. I know it sounds basic and stupid, but it will save you a whole lot of grief and add at least 5 years to your life. So that was the simple quick fix, but it's not going to fix all your issues, just a little bit. So where are the bigger fixes? The bigger fixes are in, hear the number correctly, 60 grains available to you across the Indian subcontinent. We don't have to go to quinoa. We have enough that is available here under the gamut of the name grains and millets. All homegrown, all ancestral, all traditional Indian. I gave you one clue yesterday, which was amaranth as a superfood. That is just one of them, very easily available, also called Rajgira in Hindi. Now, what are the other ones available? I'm giving you generic names right now. You can look it up, and honestly, you will find at least 6 or 7 of these easily available in any supermarket that's close to you and open right now, or online. So it is easily available. You just have to reach your mind, your hand, and ask for it. Yeah? Yesterday, what did I say? Make it familiar, make it comfortable, but make it novel and change it. So what are we going to do? We are going to use our familiar foods, but make it novel and change it, so that we are fulfilling our taste buds. We are going back to the comfort of what we like, but it's new, it's refreshing, and the effects are amazing on your health. So what are these grains that I'm talking about? Well, I like to talk more about the many millets that are available to us. Millets are grains that grow openly in nature. They don't need a whole lot of watering. They are hardy plants. They're small grains. Yes, you do need to harvest them and soak them overnight to consume them the next day. So what are these millets? 3 that you've heard of: jowar, bajra, ragi. Then we have foxtail millet, barnyard millet, brown top millet, kodo millet, proso millet, little millet, also called sama or sanba. Yeah, and then there's buckwheat, there's oats. These are not millets, but they are different grains that are available to us, and all of them are, guess what, gluten free. Why am I saying gluten free? Because gluten is the substance in wheat, in whole wheat, in refined flour, which is doing all of this damage. Now, why is it doing damage to all of us? Because we are eating what is GMO modified, and 100% of the wheat in the world is GMO modified today. So what is available to you is not what your grandparents ate. It's not the same wheat, it's changed. So whether you're eating it in bread, in your roti, in your pizza, all of us are facing in small or large measure the symptoms I mentioned in the beginning, the symptoms that Mr. Djokovic or my husband is going through, or we know someone who's going through it, and sometimes we are not aware of what's happening inside us, and sometimes we have high activity, high energy lifestyles with a high metabolic rate, so we haven't hit that point yet. But don't you all want to be at least 50% better than where you are? At least 50% better than where you are? So really trying to achieve that potential. When I say achieve that potential, I mean mental, I mean physical, I mean nutritional, I mean your looks. When you can look 10 years younger, why don't you use that? And it's easily available in culture. So how am I going to incorporate this? I mentioned millets the other day, saying that you can make a simple porridge out of it. But if I want to say I'm sitting at home and I want lots of different recipes and I want my taste buds to be fulfilled, the easiest first change that I did at home, and a lot of us have done without the whole family going up in arms, is using jowar, because that's the simplest one to incorporate into your taste buds without noticing the difference, as rotis, as parathas, as puris, all of the usual stuff, and papris for papri chaat. So we successfully made papri chaat. With it, you want to add that 5 to 10% of regular whole wheat atta to this, to have that little bit of taste, to have that kneadiness and the stickiness in it. Please go ahead, transition in a month's time, but you can do this mix and get it very easily at a yummy, consistent taste that your entire family will accept. So that's the first one. Then how do I proceed further? So I've done a lot of personal experiments. I've gone through a lot of people across the world who are turning either gluten-free, vegan. Do you need to become gluten-free and vegan? Absolutely not. What I want to say to you is, don't get stuck to one. When you don't eat one vegetable every single day, you don't eat one dal or legume every single day. Well, if you do, you know you're supposed to have that variety, and we know we want to have all the colors. Then why don't we have all the colors in our grains? That's all I'm saying to you. Just see the impact. So how do I get all the colors in my grain? Because I have yellow grains, I have reddish grains, I have brown grains, I have white grains, and none of them have to be whole wheat. So if I want to eat a traditional good fried whole wheat paratha on a Sunday, absolutely, please enjoy it. Have a samosa on a Tuesday. But on a Monday, I can wake up to having a kodo rice upma. Then I can have a jowar roti for lunch, and I can have a bajra khichdi for dinner. For some people who find it heavy, what can you do? You can simply make a pancake out of a foxtail millet. Now, how do I eat any of these grains or millets? Very simple. You soak them overnight, anything between 7 to 8 hours. The next day it's ready for boiling, steaming, cooking, or drying and making a powder out of it. When you make a powder, that powder is simply atta and nothing else. You could have just simply dried it on your kitchen table at night, and in the morning it's ready to be churned in the blender and made a powder of, which you can use for the rest of the month. So it is that easy if you say it's not available in the market. So please diversify it such that you are fulfilling your senses. And what can I do to do that? Very simply, I'm just going to show you a quick image. If you can see, we have a reflection here, but these are just 6 or 7 basic, and you can see that there are lots and lots of colors. We have foxtail millet, barnyard millet, all of them in the images here. And very quickly, these are some of the experiments we did at home. So I don't know if you can see, but these are normal fried puris made out of foxtail millet. And finally, all our favorite pizza with olives and little bell peppers and oregano and onions. So this is something that is available to us. I would still use the same recipe, use the same yeast to make my pizza base at home. But what would I do instead of adding maida or refined flour? Maybe I'll take that 2 spoons as a transition, but I would make any of the flours that I mentioned to you, whether it's barnyard millet, little millet, jowar atta, which we can process at home, any of these grains processed at home, and use them in my pizza batter and make my delicious pizzas at home with a homemade tomato sauce, add a little cheese, add my chopped vegetables, and get a ready-made healthier version of a pizza. Why do I say healthier version? Because, like I said, your bloating is going to vanish, your acidity is going to vanish, your headache is going to vanish, your digestion is going to become 100 times superior, you're going to breathe better, you're going to sleep better, and what we call sluggish metabolic syndrome, which half of North America suffers with and has now also been beautifully exported to India, is going to vanish overnight. And yes, when I want to go out and enjoy that samosa with chai on the road, I absolutely can do it guilt-free, and I must enjoy it at that time. But make sure that when you test all of these things out, you keep an open mind, and like I said yesterday, find that family member who is ready to try all of this out. So what all can you try? You can try everything from pancakes to upma, to dosa, to idli, to uttapam, to like I said, pizzas, pastas. You get gluten-free pastas, which are absolutely beautiful, and a lot of people now in Europe survive on that. But if I want to come back to that regular Indian stuff that we are all familiar with, have you heard of sago or sabudana? Do you know what buckwheat is? Do you know what singhara atta is? It's all vrat ka khana, and you know, when vrat ka khana or fasting food, we have it, it's a pseudo fast because you're frying all of this with potatoes and enjoying it. All our mums have done that. We've seen them do a day fast with eating a ton of fried food, and as kids we thought, why don't we fast? We might as well have these yummy aloo tikkis, and we might as well have these fried puris that they're eating. So you can actually sit and have all of that food, including your pizzas and all of that. And if you want to do half and half, please by all means do half and half. But my challenge to you today is to just observe 3 days in a week where you have a variety of grains. If I gave you moong dal every single day, and I know some people are smiling here because they do eat moong dal every single day, but if I give you moong dal every single day with the same tadka, 90% of us aren't going to be happy. Yes, there are 10% of us who want to eat the same food every day, but for most of us, we want some tadka variation, we want something new. So I want something new in my diet, and I gave you the same toru sabzi every day, the same bitter gourd or bottle gourd, the same moong dal, and I gave you poha for breakfast, and I told you have a banana for breakfast, and for dinner the same tomato soup with a slice of toast. Do you think you're going to be happy in terms of your senses and your taste? Do you think you're going to be happy in terms of the nutritional variety? No. But actually, essentially, this is what we all do. I know I'm making it sound very basic, but you might be having a poha one day, a upma one day, a toast one day with different things, a little saute in that. Then we have our rotis for lunch. But it's actually the same category. You just fried it the next day. You just make it look interesting because you fry it in different ways and camouflage it with some more cheese and some more refined flour and some corn flour and some ready-made sauces with all of that sugar in it. But it's actually the same thing in your stomach. It's registering with even more masala and even more dead food. And what I'm offering to you is eat all of this with a slightly more open mind with different ingredients so that the flora and fauna of your gut actually become like the flora and fauna you see outside, not like a wilted cactus. Right now it's a wilted cactus that's kind of going in there like that, and it hasn't reached the stage where it's really crunching you like it did for Novak. So that's why we are sticking on with it. I'm saying 7 days, follow a different diet every day, enjoy one day what you grew up being completely familiar with. One day have a khichdi for lunch, one day have a dalia for lunch, one day have a oats cutlet for lunch, one day do a jowar roti for lunch, one day do a pizza which is differently made. And then involve your family in this cooking experiment with the different superfoods we've talked about, with the different millet grains that we've talked about. The idea is that your mind and body needs to be flexible, supple, so that you can go inward and you are a better game changer, you're a better human being in your family. And that's the place I'm coming from, to offer all these different solutions to you. Now, Today's homework for all of you is do just 3 days where you do a variety of grains. Whatever is available at home. Don't call up the grocer or message him. I send a whole list to my grocer that, this is what I want tomorrow. Can you keep it ready? I'll come collect it. None of that. Whatever is in your kitchen. So I know you will have rice in your kitchen. A lot of you have oats in your kitchen. A lot of you have buckwheat or fafar or singhara atta in your kitchen. Some of you will have sabudana in your kitchen. And many of us do have jowar also. If you have ragi, bajra, any of that, great. I've given you 6 or 7. Make one breakfast a pancake. Any of the egg eaters out there, make one breakfast a dosa or an idli. Make one aloo and sabudana cutlet. Yeah. Make a jowar roti for one meal. Make a khichdi for one meal, and cook normal oats with maybe mushrooms, broccoli, all of that thrown in there, and do one pizza. None of which will be made out of flour or whole wheat. And then tell me how you're doing. Send me your questions on this page. Tell me how you're doing tomorrow, day after, and the day after that in the next 3 days, where I'm going to add on a whole lot of beautiful stuff to your mind and body. But I need you all to be on this experiment with me, with all of this other nutritious stuff coming into your diet, and tell me how you feel with that. So finally, the biggest change I want you to observe is make a note of how you sleep. How many times you're waking up, how you feel when you sleep, how you feel when you wake up, and how you feel after lunch. These are your game changers. Because, fun fact for you. Well, it's not fun, but it's something that you need to know. How many days do you think you can survive if you don't sleep? I'm talking about 99% of the population. 1% of you out there who I know can survive longer. But what's the norm? 99% of us? It's about 6 days. You can stay alive for 6 days consecutively with no sleep. After that, we don't exist. How many days do you think that is for food? It's about 21. You can live 3 times longer, 3.5 times longer without food, but you cannot live without sleep. And if you have compromised sleep, inefficient sleep, excess sleep, disturbed sleep, you've got to do something about it, because that's disturbing you a whole lot more than what you're thinking or what you're putting inside your body or the people you are with. So your homework for today is to make observations about your sleep in the next 3 days as you take up my challenge and put all of this stuff in your diet, and then see how all of it works out. So I hope we are all going to do this task together and share our observations on this page. Put it on your page, share it, like it, and definitely send me questions on this video or in my inbox. Don't forget to like fomonomore, and tomorrow you're going to join me in a disease-free diet. A disease-free alkaline diet. What does that look like? If I can even achieve 50% of that, where am I going to be? So I look forward to forming that diet with all of you, and we'll take up some questions tomorrow when we begin. So please send those in to me, because I look forward to taking and answering those. I hope you have a good night, and I'm waiting for your comments on your sleep tomorrow. Bye. Have a good evening.